Hello, creators. In this week's comics industry commentary, we take a look at the continuing turmoil at Oni Press, a possible labor dispute during San Diego Comic-Con, and the continued struggles of Comixology. My name's Gamal Hennessy. I am an attorney, author, and business consultant who specializes in the comic book industry. So we're going to get right into my opinions on what's been going on in the world of comics this week. The major news is that San Diego Comic-Con is coming back after a 2 or 3 year hiatus because of the pandemic. And a lot of major companies, including Marvel, Paramount, Vault, Heavy Metal, are announcing major plans and announcements for the show. One company that is no longer having any plans for the show is Oni Press. We talked a couple weeks ago about two of their major executives being let go from the company with no apparent reason or explanation. And I believe just yesterday, 4 more executives were laid off from the company. Now, this is unfortunate timing because Oni was about to celebrate its 25th anniversary at San Diego Comic-Con, but now at this point, very few people understand what's going on with Oni, who is in charge, or what's going to happen next for the company. Now, as a comic book creator or a person trying to get into the comic book business, you have to realize what kind of impact something like this is going to happen overall to the comic book industry and to your career specifically. Now, the comic book industry overall is very small and things are very fluid. So a person that you may have had connections with at one company, if all of a sudden they're not at that company and that's how you were getting work or that's how you were getting your material seen, you may not have that option once that person is gone. And if a lot of people leave one company, that raises specific questions about the future of that company. A lot of comics is based on personal relationships. So you have to figure out, well, who is leaving, where are they going to wind up, and how is that going to impact everything that you're going to be doing. The other thing that you need to keep in mind, especially if you have a contract with Oni, whether it's a creator-owned deal or a freelance deal, is you need to take a look at your contract and find out exactly what happens in the event of some corporate change happening at Oni. If Oni files for bankruptcy, what happens to your IP? If Oni gets acquired by another company, what happens to your royalty statements? If Oni all of a sudden decides to sell off a lot of their assets, is your intellectual property one of those assets that are being sold? And this isn't really just something that people with a deal at Oni should be taking a look at. Should be a cautionary tale for anyone who has any kind of deal, because in a lot of cases, when you get a contract, you're not necessarily looking at the assignment provisions, the acquisition provisions, or a lot of the legal terms that are buried in the back of the contract. So what I would suggest is you take a look at those just so you have an understanding. I'm not suggesting you do or not do anything, because in many cases, there's nothing for you to do. But you are much better off understanding what is going on with your book, your deals, your revenue stream, if corporate changes start to take place with the publishers that you're working with. There's another story that is related to San Diego Comic-Con, but it's not directly about San Diego Comic-Con. There is a group of workers at a Hilton, I believe it's the Hilton Bayfront in San Diego, that are considering going on strike during the weekend of San Diego Comic-Con. Now, this could have ripple effects over the entire con because, as I said, San Diego is coming back after a 2-year hiatus, and both the convention organizers and the city itself is very keen on having a smooth running show, smooth as possible, because there's been rumblings for many years that San Diego isn't big enough to hold the convention that it now holds, and that maybe they should be moving somewhere else. And if there's a lot of disruption, and just because this potential strike is only at one hotel doesn't mean there won't be a ripple effect, that's going to negatively impact the experience of the people going there. Now, it's not that the hotel workers obviously have anything against comics or Comic Con or anything else. This is simply a negotiation tactic. They are timing their action to maximize their leverage, because if it was any other week in the tourism calendar of San Diego, it would not have as much impact. So it will be actually interesting to see how much the city and the city council and the Hilton Corporation actually give the workers what it is that they want, based on the fact that they don't want this to sour the experience of San Diego Comic-Con coming back. And if you happen to have a reservation at the Hilton Bayfront, you might want to keep an eye out on what actually is going to occur when you get to the hotel. In other news that is not related to San Diego, Comixology is rolling out a beta to kind of alter the reading experience for users of their Kindle Comixology hybrid thing. For anyone who's seen earlier episodes of the program, you know that Kindle folded Comixology into its ecosystem, and it was not received well by the reader community or by the creator community. And these new rollouts and these new beta features did not necessarily solve any of those problems. What that suggests is that this, like many apps and many kind of technological solutions, this is going to be a work in progress, and you will see slow incremental changes to the experience, but that does not necessarily mean that they are going to be able to become that digital app that the North American industry needs to get digital comics to the place that they can be, similar to the way they are in Asia. So that's going to do it for this week's comics industry commentary. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms, or concerns about the comic book industry and you'd like to ask those questions, please leave them in the comments. I will put all the links to all the stories in the show notes. So like and subscribe, enjoy your weekend, and have fun with your comic.